And we are live. Welcome to Lunchtime with Leona. That's me, of Ebony Ivy Thyme. And I'm so glad that you are right here in the kitchen with me and at the lunch table. You know, it's always a good time right here at the lunch table. And we have an opportunity to talk and to chit chat and just discuss all kinds of fun things at lunchtime. And I am hoping today that some of our friends will be able to drop in because a lot of children are off from school today, and it may be that may have a few guests who are able to come because they don't have to be at work today. So that'd be a good thing. Today, our focus is on 5 reasons why we cook at home. Now, it's one of those things. Hello, hello. It's one of those things that we look at, and a lot of times we think of it as something that we just have to do. We have to cook. Okay, so we do those kind of things. But the reality of it is that when we are home cooks, our responsibility is much greater than that. Hello, hello. And it is one of those things that home cooks are really more important than we think. We are responsible for the well-being of our family. And as we take care of our little family, each home cook is taking care of their family. And in that respect, they then spread and branch out because our families grow and they have other places that they go. And eventually they start their own families. So it is our responsibility to try our best, to do our best in front of our families. Now, are we going to be able to hit 100% every day? Absolutely not. But we're going to shoot for it. We're going to try to get as close to it as we possibly can. So let's talk a little bit about some of those reasons. I sat down and I tell you what really brought me to this is because, to be honest with you, I had one of those weekends where we needed to eat out. Okay, so, eating out's fine occasionally, but it's not something that we want to do all the time. And as young people coming out of college or out of high school, whichever the case may be, if they have not done any cooking in the home prior to leaving home or getting ready to leave home, then that's a problem. So, because then they're dependent upon whatever's being sold in the grocery store or whatever somebody says that they can do or can prepare, or something fast, whether it's fast in the grocery store or it's fast pulling into McDonald's or Burger King or whatever it is. So we want to think about the fact that most people, probably close to 98% of the people everywhere, prefer eating at home. They really do. And if home is a pleasant place, it doesn't have to be a $1 million house with a $1 million kitchen. It can be just a cozy little apartment kitchen. But if you've got a happy place, then people prefer to sit down at that table. Now, they like a home cooked meal over anything. Over anything. I thought about my son, and I had a chance to be with him this weekend. And the fun part is that both he and his wife are both good cooks. And the reality of it is that I can remember when he would come home from school and he wanted a good home cooked meal. And he made sure that he called before he got home because he wanted to make sure that whatever I was planning for dinner was something that he knew he wanted. And so he would put those items on the list. And my husband laughs even today because there's certain things that I only fix when the kids are coming. I don't know about you all, but when you know those kids are coming, you're going to make sure that these things and these items and these recipes are going to be right there on your table. Hello, hello. Now, you know, our home cooked meals, as we think about it, for those of us who are seasoned, we've probably gotten to this point of looking at the nutritional value of what we're preparing. It's not just about being an easy weeknight meal. And I love easy weeknight meals. And I love using my slow cooker, and I love not having to stand in the kitchen for an hour plus to prepare a meal, as I'm sure most of you all do too. But we want to make sure that the meals that we're preparing are nutritional. So those are things we really have to think about when we're putting things down on paper and trying to decide what it is that we're going to serve for dinner. We want to make sure, like I have a friend who, when she cooks, she always has two green vegetables, two. And she may have a third vegetable. It may not be green, but she's going to have at least two vegetables. For us, we almost always have some type of green vegetable or some type of vegetable, and then a salad. And we make sure that the salad is loaded with all kinds of colors and flavors in that salad. And that's because of the nutritional value. So those are things that we're looking for. We also, as we're preparing those quick weeknight meals, we're looking at the spices that we put into the food that we're going to prepare. We also look at the preservatives. We try not to use things that have a lot of preservatives if we can get around it. Sometimes we really can't get around it, but we'll use a minimal amount of whatever that is if possible. And if we can learn to prepare it ourselves, then that means that our food, our home cooked food, is going to be so much more nutritional. So, number one reason is that people love, and prefer eating a good home cooked meal. And when that happens, everybody's going to know because they're going to tell everybody, oh, tonight mom threw down. My honey threw down. She had or he had whatever for dinner. And they're going to talk about it because it was absolutely delicious. Now, home cooking. Reason number two, home cooked food is usually easier on the palate. And home cooked food, we can eat every day, 7 days a week, 3 meals a day, and get good nutritional value. And that's something that we want to do. Now, as we're thinking about the things that we're planning, most of the time, our home cooked meals are going to be served in such a way that they're not going to cause health problems later because the home cook has taken into consideration. We want things low, reasonable salt or less. If someone can't tolerate spicy food, then we take that into consideration. If we have families that have people who are sensitive to, say, peanuts or whatever it may be, they take our seafood, because I know someone was talking about the other day that they were sensitive to seafood. So that's not something that the home cook would prepare because they already know the environment and the people who are within the home that they typically serve. Now, I've even gotten to the point that when I think someone's coming over, I run the menu by, if not by them directly, it's usually the wife. I'm talking to the wife and I'll say, well, Sue, I'll say, I know you all are coming over Friday night. And let's see, what does your honey think about da 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 da? And I'll run the menu by. And she'll say to me, oh, that he will love that. And she'll say, but now he's real sensitive to cayenne. Okay, so I know that for Friday night, even though we might like it, I'm going to cut back on that because I want to make sure that the meal that I'm preparing is going to be palatable for everyone around the table. And so that gives the rest of us the option that if we want to kick up the heat, then we can pull out the Frank's hot sauce, or we can pull out the cayenne if we need to shake a little extra, whatever it may be, or what's whatever heaty sauce that we might have, we can always add that. But we're going to try to be careful about what it is that we're going to prepare. If someone is, say, seafood tolerant, and you're inviting them over, then that's not going to be the night that you're going to serve seafood. You're not going to have the Friday night fish because so and so cannot tolerate that. Or if you have fish and they're okay with it being fried or cooked or whatever, they can walk into a room where, a restaurant where it is, but they can't eat it themselves. And my friend who is seafood, she is shellfish tolerant. She can eat regular seafood, but she can't eat shellfish. And in fact, she can't even be you can't even fry the seafood and the shellfish in the same oil. That's how sensitive she is. And so she keeps an EpiPen with her all the time. Well, then that's not going to be something that I'm going to prepare. I'm not going to prepare some type of shellfish for her. And even if we have seafood, we're going to have it at a restaurant. It's not going to be served in my kitchen because number one, I don't want her to get sick. And number two, I'm going to put that responsibility back on her to decide if she wants fish, or I will certainly say, okay, is it all right if we have fried fish? And since we're frying, I'll have another container and I will fry, say, chicken. Or we'll have chicken wings or something like that. Or we'll have steak or something on the side. Maybe we'll do a surf and turf. So that will give her options. And so if she decides not to eat the seafood, then she can certainly go with the steak. So that gives those who are within our family and within our home an option. Now, health issues. For those of you who received the newsletter, went to the doctor, got the physical, and if you are over 50, then you're going to find that probably there are some things in your health that you need to tweak. I don't know what it is. Once you pass that 50 hump, it just seems like little things start to pop up in your health. And you just find, oh, I need to watch that. Oh, I better not eat that. Oh, I better cut back on that. And so there were some things that came out of the physical that I found that I needed to adjust, and some things that I think that I needed to add into my diet. Now, let me tell you one of the things I found out. I am well, I'll take the medication I'm supposed to take. I have a problem with high blood pressure, just, put it out there. And I'm sure I am not alone. There are a lot of people out there with high blood pressure. And so when you're dealing with high blood pressure, you have to be very careful about excess salt, excess sugar. And I love sugar. And so those are things I have to watch. So when you're watching those things, because we're the home cook, we have to start reading the labels. We have to look at some brands of tomatoes have a very high salt content, and you can use them, but then, don't add any more salt to that particular dish, because those particular tomatoes have a high volume of salt. Or if you can get the low salt or less salt, then find a brand that has a little less. And so that means that we have to stop, take a minute, read the labels. And some of that, to be honest with you, we got away from during the pandemic, because we didn't want to go in the grocery store. We were doing a lot of ordering online. But the good thing is that the grocers got smart, because they enabled us to be able to not only, as we looked at the cans of vegetables or frozen foods, whatever it was, they gave you an option most of the time to be able to flip it over either to the nutritional label so that it was visible, or down in the description, they had the nutritional information there. And so if you're really not sure, and if you can't find it, then go to the website for that particular company. And most of the time, you can pull up the nutritional information there. So you can check how much sugar is in there, how much salt is in there, because salt has to be present in certain things that are canned. Excuse me. In certain things that are canned. And so because of that, we have to be very careful in our selections, and we try to cut back. I know I tend to cut back. I can use canned goods for certain things, and like, got a slamming recipe for a easy chicken pot pie that you can put together and have it ready in less than 10 minutes, bake it, and in an hour you're sitting at the table with this delicious chicken pot pie. And the thing is that I can't add any other salt, because the things that are going in have a certain amount of salt. So I know that. I don't have to worry about any sugar or anything like that in that particular dish, because it's savory. But I just have to watch the amount of salt. And plus, too, you don't want to dip into your chicken pot pie and it tastes like a box of salt. And you want to make sure that you're getting the flavors that you're looking for. So we have to be careful as we're making those selections. And that goes for most canned goods. If it's green beans, if it's peas, if it's whatever, you have to look at the nutritional value on the back of the can, on the back of the box if it's cereal. And especially if you're sugar sensitive, there are just certain cereals you're going to probably stay away from. You may like it, it may be wonderful, and it may be your favorite cereal. You may have liked it since you were 3 years old. But let's face it, now we have to watch it. So if we're going to have our favorite cereal, say it's Captain Crunch. I love, 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 love it. How many Captain Crunch? Until I got into my teens. How many boxes of Captain Crunch I probably went through. And Lord have mercy, I think I lived on Captain Crunch when I was in college. But after I got out of college, got a little more knowledgeable, found out about the sugar level, it was like, talk to the hand, Captain Crunch, because I am not taking you off that shelf. You just have too much sugar. And so I haven't had any more Captain Crunch. Captain Crunch did not come into this house until I had little people who were running around, burned up enough energy, because that's the thing. You have to be able to burn it up. If you're going to have it, then you must be able to burn it up. And most of us, who are working every day, sitting in an environment where we have to sit at a desk, at a computer, whatever it may be. Most of us are not. Now, let me clarify this. If you are not going to the gym every day and burning off a ton of calories, then Captain Crunch is probably not going to be your choice when you're thinking about breakfast. But those are the kind of things that, as the home cook, you look at it and you think, oh, my honey loves Captain Crunch. Well, yes, he may. But is that the best choice for him? So that's when you have to have that conversation and say, honey, let's look at the back of this. Captain Crunch has way too much sugar, and I think way too much of you than to serve this to you for breakfast because, woo, the sugar is over the top. Not only is the sugar over the top, but check out the sodium level too. Who would have thunk it in Captain Crunch? Yes, got to check it out. And there's a lot of cereals that are out there that we have to be careful with. And there are things that we have eaten all along. But we reach a certain point, and that point's getting younger and younger and younger and younger because we are finding out that some of the things that we ate back when we were 18, 19, 20 have lingered in our system, lingered in our body, and they have kind of set our bodies up for situations now that we're more seasoned. So we have to be crazy. We have to be crazy. Now, I'm going to stop because I see some conversation and I saw something with Raisin Bran and I love Raisin Bran. So I'm going to have to bring that over to you. So stay right there. Let me bring it in. Oh, Denise, this is funny. Denise is talking to my crew, and she said she's trying to stop adding that teaspoon of sugar to her Raisin Bran Crunch. Not the crunch, Denise. Not the crunch. Oh, Lord, it's already sweet. I've got to make a change. That's what she's saying. You know what? That is hilarious because we are all in that situation. Denise is putting it out there, and I'm putting it out there. There are things I can tell you that I'm going to share and let you know, yes, I love it. And yes, I'm going to have it. I tell you, every night we like to have one of those microwave packages of popcorn. It's delicious. It doesn't matter if it's Orville Redenbacher or if it's Costco's or whomever it may be. We have our pack of popcorn. And once upon a time, being honest here, once upon a time, each of us had our own bag. And we would sit and watch our television programs at night and nibble on our popcorn every night until one day I thought, I don't know. We got a bag and I can't remember who it was by. But when I tasted it, it was like, whoo, I had started cutting back on the salt and I put that in my mouth and it was like, oh my goodness, somebody had just poured a box of salt in my mouth. And I thought, I better look at this package and see how much salt is in here. Only to find we're talking not 200 or 300 milligrams of salt, but we're talking about thousands of grams of salt. And so we have to be careful when we're serving those kinds of things. So now we don't have it every night. It is a treat. We may have it, say, every 3 nights, and there's only one bag, and we're dividing it between the two. And so, there are just adjustments that we have to make because of health situations. Now, so number one was that why we cook is because of the fact that people prefer eating those good, delicious home cooked meals. And number two is because of the fact that home cooked food is easier on our palate. and easier on our gut. And our gut health, we are learning every day that our gut health is critical to our survival. Critical. And so we have to be careful. Now, number three, when we cook for ourselves, when we cook for ourselves, we are more aware of those things that are more beneficial to us. If I'm cooking just for me, then I'm probably going to have salad and tuna, or salad and chicken, or salad and turkey. It's always going to be a salad. I can tell you it's going to be a salad. Or on Sunday, it would be, say, greens and a meat, or greens and green beans and a meat. And I actually like to prepare both the greens and the green beans without any meat. Now I know you're going, oh, that is not the Southern way. No, it's not. But it is more nutritional. And so, what that means is that I have to look at, number one, how I'm going to prepare it so that I'm not losing the flavor of the greens, say, for instance, that I'm looking for. Because that's important. Because, when the first time I fixed a vegetarian style of collard greens, I thought the big guy was just going to fall out right there in the chair because it was like, where's the meat? And he was looking for the ham, or looking for the ham hock, or looking for the smoked turkey. And he was so used to seeing that. And so it wasn't so much, I'm not even sure it was really the flavor that he was looking for, but he was just so used to seeing certain things in those greens and in those green beans. And so it took me a while to find that flavor level that I could get with certain spices and good bone broth, that, I mean, really good, serious bone broth, or chicken stock, or vegetable stock that you could use, that you could add a little spice to, add a little something to, that would still mimic somewhat the flavor of those collard greens with all the meat. I started to kind of cut back on the salt. So those kinds of things we have to look at. And we're not doing it to be mean. We're doing it to save ourselves. We want to make sure that we are here and healthy. All of us want to live to a ripe life, but we also want that ripe old life to be one where it's a life that we're living, we're going, we're doing, we're having a good time, and we're beneficial. And we don't want to have to sit and have other people take care of us unless we are just at that point where we can't help it. And we may eventually get to that point where, because of time, let's face it, there are still 90-year-olds who are out here running and walking and doing all of those things. But then when you really sit down and talk to them, they're very careful about what goes into their mouth. And they have made changes so that their body is processing better. I want to be that 90-year-old lady who's rocking my tennis shoes and walking and walking and walking 3 miles a day. That's the lady I want to be. And who feels good, whose heart's good, breathes well, skin's good, all of those kind of things. Sure, we're going to have wrinkles because we're 90 years old. But the reality of it is that we want to be a healthy 90 years old whenever that time comes. But in order for that to happen, we have to start, young homemakers and young cooks. We have to start when we're 18 years old and putting changes and plans in place so that our bodies are in good condition. And that's what I'm starting to see. Now, so when we cook for ourselves, And for those of you who are young and you're just getting out there and you're preparing those meals to yourself, if you're going to think about things that are fast food, be careful with your choices. Go on the menu online, because I know you got your phones. Go on the menu online, find out what the nutritional value is. Don't look just at the calorie count. Look at how much sugar, look at how much salt, look at how many preservatives are going into it or are already in it. Those are the kinds of things you want to look at, because I guess I can say this and say it carefully. I do believe that our worst enemy is a preservative. You know, preservative is not, in most cases, a natural thing found in the body. And it does not do. Our bodies in there running around trying, our cells are in there trying to figure out what is that you have put into me. And the purpose of the preservative, of course, is because of shelf life. But we want to make sure that the things that are going across our lips, that yes, it tastes good. Yes, we didn't have to spend a long time in the kitchen. I get it. I get it. But oh, Ronnie, I got you. I got you. You are absolutely right. If you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. That is so true. And those are things that we think about. And I guess now, because we're really more conscious of it, we're trying to be better stewards of our body. We want to make sure that, yes, I use butter, but I am aware of the type of butter that I use. I know how much butter I'm going to use. And I know if I'm going to use butter here, then that's going to be the night that I'm not going to have the bag of popcorn. I'm not going to do that. I may not even do it that week, because I'm trying to control amounts of certain things that go into my body, because we want our body to process what we're putting inside of it. We want our family to eat as much fresh and wholesome meals as we possibly can. Now, sure, we're going to have leftovers. And so the next night, we may throw some things in there and put some extras in there so that it kind of looks a little different, tastes a little different. I do it all the time. And there are some things that actually taste better the second night around. But we want wholesome. I want to be able to use, if I'm going to cook green beans, I want fresh green beans. Frozen green beans, frozen. This isn't the time. Winter's hard to get a lot of things fresh. So I'm not going as much down the canned good aisle as I am going over to the frozen food aisle. And, I buy frozen green beans or frozen corn, and I try to buy the better brands. But I'm going to compare the two, look at the nutritional value, and work it out. Work out the math, see what's the best to be able to bring home. And so that's the nice thing about going into the grocery. Yes, you're going to take a little more time, but it's well worth it, because our families are important. So, number 4, because we want to ensure that whatever is going into our mouth is wholesome, fresh, nutritional. We want them good. Number 4, we want to think about the fact that eating food at home has certain real advantages. Now, we've talked about the nutrition end. We've talked about the fact that, yes, the family loves having home cooked food and having their favorites prepared. And but there are some other advantages. Number one is that the type of food that you serve is going to help build your immunity. Because when our families leave these doors, they're bombarded with germs, sneezes, coughs. If your children are going to school, I know this for a fact. If your children are going to school, other children are touching everything. And, I can remember the time when, as a teacher, I was not allowed to have hand sanitizer in the classroom where the kids could get to it. And now most teachers don't have a choice. They need to have hand sanitizer so that they can make sure that the kids get a little bit of hand sanitizer before they go to lunch and try to clean their hands up if they didn't get a chance to go to the restroom. Now, unfortunately, there are still people, even after all that we have been through, there are still people walking out of restrooms not washing their hands in restaurants, touching chairs, touching silverware, touching the tablecloths, touching the tables, touching the menus. Oh, so do I sound like a germaphobe? Yes, I do. But I'm sounding like that to send the alarm. Now, most of you who are in this chat box, I already know. I already know. When you go to places like that, you're already very careful. Yes, I take my hand sanitizer and I clean my hands up. I clean my hands up. And I have noticed that quite a few restaurants have gone to printed paper menus so that when you get that menu, you can take it home rather than leaving it there for someone else to use. They're not concerned about that. They're more concerned about being clean. And so you get your menu, you fold it up and you put it in your purse when you get through. And so, but those restaurants that still have those that are stuffed into the plastic uh, covers, I get it. It's expensive to print pictures, anything in color. And I understand that. So that means that I have to take the responsibility for me. I have to make sure that I go wash my hands, take a paper towel as I'm walking out that door, hold on to the door handle, open it up, drop the paper towel in, and go to the table. And my elbows get a lot of use because I scoot the chair out with the elbow. I'm opening doors with the elbows because I want to keep my hands clean. And should I happen to touch something, then the hand sanitizer is coming out. So when we're at home, you're like me, we are constantly spraying and cleaning and wiping our kitchens, our tables, everything, because we want that our environment to be as clean as it possibly can. And I've noticed we did go. I see Michelle say that she stopped going to buffet years ago because the people weren't cleaning their hands. I understand. Well, now at most buffets, they have plastic gloves. And for a while, probably the first 8 months after we kind of started coming out of COVID, then there was a sign up that said if you're going to participate in the buffet, you had to have on gloves. And children under a certain age were not allowed to go through the buffet because that bothered me. You see a little 5-year-old up there at the buffet trying to peek over. His or her little hands are up there, or they're grabbing a piece of meat and they look at it, they don't want it, and you know what a child's going to do? They're going to throw it back. That's exactly what they would do. Or a roll, and oh, that's not the one I want. They put it back. The sad part is that when you see adults do that, I'm furious. I am absolutely furious. And so we have to take into consideration, we have to watch. So we're going to try to make sure that the people who are in our homes, that their immunity is as strong as it can possibly be, by making sure that we're providing nutritional meals at home. Because let's face it, every now and then I want a good pizza. And I'm going to either eat it in the restaurant or I'm going to have it delivered here. One that I didn't have to make. I just want to sit back and eat the good pizza. And so I don't know what went on in the kitchen, really. So I have to make sure that all the rest of the meals I had for that week, that they were nutritional and that they were healthy. Now, in addition to trying to improve our health, increase our immunity, we have to make sure that our food is safe. So when we start talking about that, we're not having anything in our refrigerator. I'm kind of pointing to mine. There is nothing in our refrigerator that's moldy that the kids might get a hold of. There we have checked the expiration dates. We've done the smell test and whatever else on whatever it is that is in our refrigerator. And if there's something in the back of that refrigerator that's starting to grow green hair, it's gone. So we try to make sure that we have taken care of that as the home cook. Now, will we occasionally miss something that's sitting over in a corner somewhere? Sure. But if we missed it, more than likely, they're not going to dig that deep either. So thank God for that. We also are very much aware of hygiene. When we're in the kitchen, we're washing our hands constantly. My poor hands, my grands were talking about manicures this weekend. That was the topic. And when I first went to visit, the nails looked perfect. But by the time we washed dishes and washed hands and did all that, you know what's going to happen with nail polish. Eventually it's going to start to crack. And I even broke a nail. But, we are in water, or should be, all the time. Home cooks. I keep my dishwashing soap that I use. I make sure that it's a good one. That, to me, that's key. That's one of those things in my kitchen. I'd rather have, say, Dollar Tree napkins, but I want top of the line dishwashing liquid. I'm going to get a name brand that I know I can stand for, and that I can get right here on here and say, this is the best washing liquid for you to use. And so I feel very comfortable in being able to do that. So as the home cook, we want to make sure that our kitchens are that we're cooking those meals that are wholesome, that they are healthy, that they're building the immunity, that we're ensuring the safety and hygiene right here in our kitchen. That means that when our little 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds are flying through, or even 12 and 13 and 14, or 20-year-olds are coming through the kitchen, they're in a hurry and they see something and they start to just kind of grab for it, say, don't touch that. Go wash your hands. Go wash your hands. Or when those little sneezes come, go wash your hands. Remind them, go wash their hands. And have hand soap available, whether it's a bar or whether it's liquid. But those kind of things need to be available for our family to ensure a good, safe environment for them. Now, reason number 5 why we cook at home. We found out that people prefer home cooking, number 1. That number 2, home cooking is easier on our tongue and in our body, and it improves our gut health. We also cook for ourselves so that we're ensuring that we have fresh, wholesome, delicious meals. Now, we also know that number four, that home cooking has the advantage of improving our health, building our immunity, and providing a safe and hygienic location for us to be able to sit down and eat. Now, number five is that eating home cooked food builds us, and this is a big one, emotionally. And I'm going to drop the mic right there. It builds us emotionally. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in a world where emotional health is critical. We have people who are fighting emotional battles. And, when you really start to dig into the backgrounds of many of those people, you find they didn't have necessarily a good, solid environment, family environment. Now, in some cases, they did, but those are the exceptions. Most of those people who are suffering from emotional issues, well, they will latch out at anybody, anywhere, and do things to people that they don't even know. When you go back, you'll find out that very often they're putting their trauma on other people. Now, our kitchen is not that place to play around. It has to be an emotionally satisfying, loving environment. Even if we're having beanie weenies for dinner, we can have beanie weenies and have a loving environment where everyone is I'll say happy, are pleasant conversations. We're concerned conversations. We're talking about things that are enriching to each other. It may be about their favorite book or something fun that the kids did for the day. Or what do you think would be the best thing? And you have conversations with open-ended questions or open-ended sentences and sit there and have a discussion while you're eating away happily. Eating together is something that used to be the norm. But as wives had to go out and into the world to start to contribute to the family and add more income to the family, some wives were able to stay at home because they were able to work that budget. And that's a good thing. But some moms had waited until the kids got out of elementary school and then they went back to work. And there's nothing wrong with that. I worked. I worked from the time the kids were 8 weeks old and went back. But I made sure every day that I had breakfast on the table and that I prepared dinner and we all sat down to dinner together. We prayed over our food. Now, I will promise you that every night the conversation was happy because every now and then something would slip into that conversation that would just send us down a rabbit hole. And we'd have to just kind of stop. We're not going to talk about that, and then come back to a normal conversation. And there has to be suffering because some of the things, some of the conversations that come in that the kids are going to share with you can send the whole family down a rabbit hole. But our moms, I can remember my mom sat us down at dinner. My dad, we all sat down and we had dinner together. Our kitchen table was set. Plates, napkins, glasses, duh, all right there. And in fact, she had things in serving bowls, like we call it now family style. Well, the family style was the way it was every day. Or she would prepare what she would fix the plates and put them before us, depending upon your age. And, we've lost that. We've lost that to some extent, not everywhere and not everyone, but a large portion of us have forgotten what that's all about or never had it. And so when you think about the 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 thing that our family is in need of, our family needs the emotional health. And that's important. And what better place than to do it right here in the kitchen? My kids did their homework right here in the kitchen. And so while I was here in the kitchen doing whatever needed to be done, I could look over at them, see if the homework was done. Are you writing it neatly? Did you read that? Do we need to read that together? And then I go back up to the stove, do whatever it was I needed to do, and then come back over and check over their shoulders, see if they were doing whatever it was. They were right here. If there was a funny story that I could tell them, I usually told them that. I'd give them their snack, but they were here with me in the kitchen. Now, this was even working, because remember I told you, I went back to work after they were born. 6 weeks, I was back to work. So it's intentional, my word for the year, intentional, to make sure that right here in the kitchen, that we would set up an environment that provided health, a healthy situation, that provided a hygienic situation, that we were able to cook foods that built their immunity, kept their health going, that they had as much fresh, wholesome food as we possibly could. Yes, we had some junk food in and out of there. I'm not saying we didn't have that, but our main meals were healthy. And we made sure that my kids were pretty healthy as kids. And, they didn't miss a lot of school. And, we went on and doing the things that we needed to do every day. Now, I'm looking here and I'm going to stop for a moment and go through. Michelle was saying that that they had stopped going to buffets years ago because they found, when we were talking about people and cleaning their hands or not, that she found that was a problem. So I'm glad to know I wasn't the only one watching that, because unfortunately, and I've even called people out right there and said, "Aren't you gonna wash your hands?" And they kind of play, "Oh, I forgot," and they turn around and wash their hands. Well, if I hadn't said anything, they wouldn't have done it. They would have walked on out without it. And that's women and men. She's also saying that if she has to buy something that's been processed, she tries to stick to things with 5 ingredients or fewer. You're absolutely right. And that is a great idea for those of you who are listening. We want to try to make sure that we are, MSG, if we can avoid it, don't buy it. Don't buy anything that has it unless you just can't avoid it. And then you're only going to use a little teeny tiny bit. But put it in a situation where you're in control, not somebody else's, someone else. So, preservatives is a big ticket item when it comes to the food that is being provided to us in our grocery stores. So it's up to us to linger in the vegetables and the meat and the frozen foods and try to stay in those departments as much as possible. And if we have to go down those other aisles, then we're very selective. I noticed that Denise is saying we were talking about the raisin bran crunch for those of you who came in a little bit later, and we were laughing. We were talking about our sugar and using sugar on our cereal, which I do, and it's already sweet, but sometimes we like to sprinkle a little extra. But she said she's working on that this month. And but butter popcorn. When I go to the movie, yes, guys, I get buttered popcorn. And I like the butter. The big guy likes the popcorn salt. So his side of the popcorn, because we usually get a big one, his side of the popcorn has whatever he wants on it. My side of the popcorn has whatever I want on it. And I'm doing better with that. He's doing better with that. But sugar is my problem. I like candy, I like cookies, I like all of that. And I struggle sometimes not to eat those things. So we know ourselves. So as we're trying to control ourselves, we will be more conscious that as we're preparing the meals that we're preparing for our family, because we want them to be healthy as well. Um, let's see. Oh, Ronnie said, growing up, her mother always brought up all the bad stuff during dinner. She said she hated it and swore it wouldn't happen in our family. Ronnie, some subject matters, and I have had moments. I am maybe not the one who necessarily does it. I am usually the referee, to be honest with you. And every now and then something will come up. And I know if my daughter's out there listening, she'll have a particular thing that she will think of and start laughing, because we had a situation, and this was when we had first moved to this area, and she got into something she shouldn't, and I didn't know it because I was already gone to work, but my hubby knew it. So hubby, it dawned on him as we're in the middle of dinner that this had happened. And he just kind of casually said, "Oh, did she tell you that she da 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 da?" Well, you could look in her face and see the horror, because he had decided to talk about it at the dinner table, which sent us into a rabbit hole. And it took a while to get out of the rabbit hole, but we got through dinner. But that was just one night. And so, as you think about those kind of things, you want to try to avoid those conversations, if at all possible, at the dinner table. Do it afterwards. Do it afterwards. Let your kids and even your spouse, let them have a pleasant meal, and find another time to talk about those subjects that may not be very pleasant. Let's see. Okay, I was looking. Michelle was explaining to Ronnie she couldn't find her comment that she was talking about with the 5 ingredients or less. If you have when you're looking at your nutritional label, 5 ingredients or less. That is a great idea. Great idea. Hello, Paul. Good. Glad you love cooking. Glad to have you here today. We have been talking about 5 reasons why we cook at home. And I know most of us who are here prepare the meals, or most of the meals, for our family. Hey, Sue, glad to see you. And so it's one of those things that as we think about our week, look at our week. Now, I'll be honest with you. I had a busy weekend, so I did not sit down and I've got the planner here But what I didn't do this week, which I am a stickler about, is making sure that I've gone through and planned out what the weekly meal is going to be for the week. And I know what my 5 or 6 meals are going to be. Typically, at least one night a week, we'll go out or have it sent in. And so I haven't made that plan yet. But I am looking at it thinking, okay, well, as soon as I finish up today, that's what I'll do. So I can make sure that I have everything I need right here in the kitchen. So I know I've got to do a grocery shop just because at the beginning, for those of you who watched One Plan for 1 month, you know that my first grocery haul was a small one. And that was because I'd done so much shopping during Christmas that I still had quite a few things that I needed to use up. But at this point, I'm ready to look seriously and start trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to replenish? And I know, things like milk, butter, eggs, all those kind of things are going to need to go back on the shelf. And sometimes I will actually let things kind of empty out. And that's for a reason, so that I can refresh with new things, fresh items. Now, we're going to be talking about fresh items. And when we talk about fresh items, I'll talk about the vegetables that are in the produce aisle, but I'm also going to talk about things that we have sitting in our kitchen that may have been sitting in our kitchen for over a year, that basically at this point, we really need to eliminate, either use it up or eliminate. And we need to eliminate those things quickly because they are getting old, and you may think it's adding the value to your meal that you would like for it to, but because of its age, it's not. And the reason I thought about that for next week is because of the fact that I went through my own kitchen and looked at a couple of things and was horrified to think, oh my gosh, I've had this that long. I gave it the sniff test and a taste test. It was like, oh, okay. That doesn't even have a flavor at this point. It's too old. It needs to be thrown out. And it's something that I can remember. My mom kept these kind of things on the shelf all the time until she used them up. And so I'm thinking, either things have changed as far as how some products are being produced, and maybe they're just not lasting as long, or maybe we actually need to purchase smaller sizes so we can use them up in a more efficient way. So we're going to be looking at that as well. So think about this. Our 5 reasons our family prefers that we cook at home. We don't have to do it 7 days a week. Take a couple of nights off. You need a leftover night and have a night either brought in or go out. Number 2, that our food has to be easy on the palate, taste good, and we want to make sure that we can eat it every day and that is giving us good, healthy benefits. We also, number 3, we want to make sure that we're cooking for ourselves those things that are fresh and wholesome. Number 4, remember that home cooking has the advantage of building immunities, building our health, ensures our safety and hygiene. And number 5, we want to make sure that our home cooked food helps us emotionally, that it is emotionally building. And Paul said he thinks his baking soda has been sitting for a year. So, you know what? Mine probably has too, but I do have some fresh. I keep some fresh and I keep the old only because I don't cook with the old. I use the older baking soda for cleaning in other places, and but that I'm going to put into my food is fresh. So I can't wait until this has been a quick hour. I can't wait until next week comes when we're right here at the lunch table at 12:30 on Monday, and we can talk about some of the things as we're looking at our nutrition. And spring is coming, and we all want to be spring chicks and chickadees and whatever you may be. So we want to make sure that we are preparing some things that are going to be delicious for ourselves and for our family. So I hope you have enjoyed today. I hope it's been beneficial to you. Some things I know you knew, but we just need to be reminded. And I know I need to remind myself sometimes. And so I'm also going to think about uh, some of the things. My daughter actually came up with something that I think you all are going to laugh about, because we're always looking at kind of the middle of the road people and young people along the way, because they're going to be middle of the road folks eventually. But the reality of it is that she looked at me and she said, "Mom, people who are in my age group don't do this. And people in my age group don't do this." So I had a chance to sit down at the kitchen table with some 20, 30 somethings and had a really good conversation with them as to how home cooking has changed. So we're going to be taking a look at that this month as well. So I hope you have had an absolutely wonderful time, and I appreciate your spending the time with me for this hour today. Please, before you leave, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you're not a member of the family, hit that subscribe button and come back, because we are always up to something. Have an absolutely blessed and wonderful, wonderful week. And for those of you who are on the newsletter, oh, we got something coming to you tomorrow. And so it's going to be fun. So be looking for that. And for those of you who are interested in the newsletter, look down in the description box, and I will have my email there for you. Just shoot me an email and I'll add you to the list. But we have a good time. So God bless you. And I will see you here next Monday for lunchtime.